for joining today. So we will be starting now. Okay, so I'm going to escape on this music. Let me minimize this and bring up the other slide. Okay, so once again, I welcome everyone. I believe others will join. If you can hear me, you can give a thumbs up, or you can just say, or mute and say yes, just to be sure everything is fine.
Yes.
Yeah, I can
Good,
hear you.
thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yes.
Thank you so very much. All right, so the recording has started, and thank you so much, Olajumoke. So, and I'm on my slide. We want to utilize all every second is important. Just to reiterate again that be assured that we would assume zero knowledge, right? I have my other community leader, one of the leaders in one of our communities with us, so that it won't just be me with us. So it is deliberate. The point here is that we would assume zero knowledge. We want everyone to understand. We don't want to jump into some people DM that they don't even understand the Excel, SQL now, and they know it's very important. So the point is that we want to ensure that even with your zero knowledge of anything, you should be able to grab some things. So for people that are already on maybe intermediate level, please just let us flow with the class. It won't be very nice that some people are like they are lost. So but we want to start from the scratch. Okay. So you already know Olajude, so I'll just move to this slide. So this is Mr. Ayobami Adeleke. So he's also with us on this call. So by the time I'm done with my session, it will take it from there. We want every minute to count, so I'm not going to stay too long on the slide. Okay. So what are the goals? What are the things we want to look at if we're able to cover everything or not? But just also be assured that it is not one-off thing. What we are trying to do is not just today. It will continue. All right, just like we've been doing previously. So it's going to continue, but let us start first. So we will understand what is called SQL and some commands. Usefulness of SQL, what do we use it for? A couple of people have been asking that. That concept of SQL is not even clear to them. So we get to understand what it's used for. You can use it to store data. You can use it to manage data. You can also get data from it. That's the meaning of that. Then we'll see how to create database. We can use, okay. My point is, you just look at my screen. You see that in front of database, there is create. A database must be created. Just like, for instance, you want to go into logistics. The first thing you need is a warehouse. The warehouse will still be empty, but you need a space. So see database as a space. Then you now begin to create maybe a rack. You call carpenter. You will tell them to demarcate. Maybe this is for something, maybe paper. This one is for wet. This one is for so. After then, that means that they will now bring some things into all those shapes. That is storing them there, putting them there. So someone or some people can manage the store. So if someone needs something from the store, the person will ask to say, give me something. That is, all this story is to tell you that storage, you must create a database, then something will be stored there. Of course, when you create a database, you want to also demarcate where things will be shelved, right? Then it will be managed, and somebody can come from maybe production to say, we need bag of flour for bread. So that is retrieving data. How that makes sense to everyone. So there are some constraints in SQL. Not null simply means that it should not be empty. Null simply means maybe a cell is empty. So not null simply means something must not be empty. There's also default. There's also unique. Unique means that if you say something is unique, it's just like a layman, that English unique. There's also we call primary key. Primary key simply means that something that identifies something uniquely, like matric number. It can only identify one person. Then we'll see how to create a table. Okay. The first thing is that if I go back, we'll see how to create a database. From there, we'll see how to create a table. So a table will be created within a database. And we'll now see how to populate that table that is also created in the data on the table in the database. So I think that makes sense. Now, if you can see my screen, you'll see something called SQL commands, right? Which simply means that um, there's what we call select, which falls under the category of data query language. Select simply means bring something from that store. Go and bring 2 bags of flour from the store. So that means you want to query, you want to pick something. So DQL means that data query language. So one of the data query languages how to query is to select. So there's also what we call DDL, which is data definition language, defining, definition, right? Which is to create. You want to create table, you want to alter table, you want to drop a table, meaning that maybe you have ABC table, you want to now say maybe let me drop B. I don't need B. Okay. Or let me alter this table. Let me alter. When you want to alter, it's just to say maybe modify or something. There's also what we call manipulation language. So meaning that this table, I want to adjust, I want to do something, I want to add to the table, insert into, I want to update the table, or I want to delete the table. That is, of course, DML. There's also what we call data control language, which is to maybe grant access, to get control. When you say control, someone is controlling something. It's just to put all of this because SQL is like very wild or big, but we want to take it. Now, look at my screen. What you are seeing now is, so a lot of people will say that because SQL has several parts, let me put it that way. Um, we have what we call SSIS, but I don't want to go into all those big grammar. Okay. Now, if you're going to do anything in SQL, right? Let's say you don't have anything at all, it's blank. There is nothing. You have configured, now you have downloaded everything you have configured, and of course, there won't be anything there. If someone is not sharing a database with you, like give you, there's what we call backup, or how can I say that now? Don't worry about that. Let's just say the database is empty. What will you do first? The server is empty, so you want to create a database. So how do you then create a database? What you are seeing on my screen is the simplest way of saying I want to create exactly what you see me, exactly what you are seeing here. There is this command called create database. You now specify the name. If you look at this image, I say create database. What is the name I should call the database? I say Jire. After then, I'll just put this one, right? Then the database will be created, just like a store will be created, like your warehouse. After then, we will look at when we create this database. Remember, if you create a store, you must now partition the store to say, please, everything, maybe flour should be on this side, and this one should be on this side. So then you want to create table that can store different things. So that means that you are going to be creating table within the database or inside. Forgive me, of course, I'm going to be speaking some layman or broken just to ensure everyone is fine. So then how do we create a table? You can have multiple tables. You can have many tables in a database. So how do we create a table? That is exactly what you're seeing. There are some things that you need to understand. So if you look at the image to my right, or before the image, if you look at the left, you'll see create table, just like that. Then you mention the name of the table. After then you open bracket. You begin to now say, okay, this table must have a particular column. Maybe column is staff ID. So it will also now say, okay, when you mention the name of the column, what is the type of information that must be on that column? So we have different types. I don't want to go into going through the slide. Like I have a documentation, but it will take too much time. So we have, just like for people that are familiar with Power BI, just like we have data type, decimal, date, what do you call date and time, text. So we also have data type for all of these databases, right? So SQL will now say, okay, now that you want to create a table, what is the name of the column? That's why you see here column 1 and the data type of that column. Now, if you see, so ID here simply means the name of the column. Then int simply means integer. Of course, I'm sure everyone understands what we mean by integer, which is, if you say integer, in case you don't know, you can always Google to say, okay, what is integer? Now, and you will see that I just say that, okay, ID is the name of the column, but the information that will be in that column should be integer. That means that they must not type any other thing other than integer in that column. And that it should also not be empty. Do not allow empty. That means not null. Now, another column is called full name. Varchar means that, let's just say variable character or different characters. It can be allowed, right? That's the meaning of varchar. Variable character, like character for car and variable. So meaning that I'm now also saying that when the column, yes, sorry.
Give me book and Bible.
Oh, please, you can mute because I'm sharing my entire screen. I may not come back and meet you, please. Don't worry, we'll do this practically. This is me trying to prepare. I'm supposed to spend 30 minutes with us. I'm going through this so that when we are now doing this, we can do a screenshot and tell you. But just know that this is detailed. Like this is a baby step, which is detailed. So because if you meet some things, it will flag error to say, okay, you have not passing the parameter or the argument where. So mean that if there is a column that I'm going to call full name, it will also say the data type and that how many character can it contain. I don't want to talk about some are fixed. You can specify, you need to specify. The reason is so that you don't, somebody's name can be, it depends on the name. So I don't want to go into details, but just know that there is limit to say, okay, if I put 100 there, if somebody's name, character, let's say Olajide is just 7, then it will be a waste of storage to say allow 100 in that place. So my point is, I'm just saying whatever name somebody want to put, it should not exceed 25 characters. I could extend. There is what we call gender as another column. My point is when you give a name to a column, you must also say the type of information they must put in the column. So you can see that gender, I put varchar, meaning that normally 20 is too much for, but don't worry. It's either we have, but let's just leave it at 20. It's either we have female or male or others, whatever we get. So the point is that you are specifying the column. You're also saying the type of information that can be entered into that column and saying the limit, the length of character. See this as length of character. This is also department I'm also mentioning. This is age, because age is also number, I say integer. This is salary, because salary is also number, I said integer. Now, there's what we call primary key, which uniquely must identify somebody or a product or something. So you are out of all these columns, you now specify that, okay, what is that one column on your table that is going to hold a unique character that will not repeat itself, like matric number on a student record will not repeat itself, like staff ID or maybe staff database will not repeat itself. So you have to specify while you are creating database that, okay, by the time you want to create this database, use ID because staff ID is unique as a primary key to identify somebody's record uniquely. Okay, that's that. Now, after you now create a table, that table has no record yet. The table is blank. The only thing, I go back there, the only thing you have in the table will just be the column headers. How do we now put information in that table? So how to put the information now is to say insert value into the table. Remember, I'm going to take 2 steps back. Remember where we started. You must create a database. That database can have several tables, but in this instance, in this case, we want to create just one table inside the database. So creating a table means that the table has headers. So now that the table has headers, we can then begin to insert information of value into the table. In order to do that, that means there is a function, a command called insert into. Now, take this personnel as a table. I'm not telling SQL to say, okay, SQL said yes, please, I need you to go to personnel, which is a table, and insert some value for me. So, but how to write it is to say insert into, then mention the name of the table. What are you inserting? I want to insert some values. Then, because value is a
You have the
function.
same phone.
Sorry, when you join, kindly mute, because I don't want to actually move away from my slide to come and mute you. By the time my other colleague is taking us, of course, I can be muting everyone. Now, um, I need you to be rest assured that this is actually simplified, right? So, so this is how to go about it. So then you want to say insert into what? The table. So you mentioned the name of the table and value. Remember that, I'll go back to the previous slide. Remember that I follow this sequence to say ID is the first column, full name, gender, department, age, salary. All right. So what you are seeing now is that in this case, 01 represent the staff ID. Olajide Do represents staff name. Can you see? 01 represents staff ID. Full name, Olajide Do, gender, department. So that is exactly what I'm trying to repeat here. Say, go to that table and begin to enter this value for this person. So this is ID, this is staff name or full name, this is gender, this is department, this is age, and this is salary. So this is information for one staff. So which means this is a record, right? After you've added this record, you now put this one and close the bracket. I also said do for another person, do for another person. It could be long, but of course, just to limit. After then, when you have created, if somebody now say, please, we need information for XYZ, how do you now? Remember where we started from? We created the database, then we created the table, then we insert record information into that table. Let's now say my line manager need information for Adama Namdi. How will I be able to bring that out of all? It could be millions of information. Maybe we have 1 million staff. Our management only need information for only few people. Then I need to use a command called select. I will now then say, if you look at this place, you see that select from table, meaning that select, what am I selecting? If they need all the record, I'll say go to the table and select all. Star simply means all. All records from where? You will now mention the name of the table. So this is how to retrieve. In case you are wondering what have I just done, everything I've done, I'll break it down right now. Remember this. We said that database is used for data storage. You can also manage data. You can also retrieve data. Remember, you create a database. In the database, you can have different tables. So you have to create the table in the database. Now that you have created the table will be empty, not until you put value. So then we began to, okay, let me stay here. Remember, this is to select, simply means is to get. That means this command is for get, select. But before you get, there must be somewhere. If the store is empty, you cannot go and get something. So that means that there must be creation of something before you can even get. Meaning that there is a warehouse. If they ask you to go and bring, let's say they say you should go and bring a bag of cement, for instance, where will you go and bring it? That means there must be somewhere where cement is stored. That means that there is a warehouse, right? Where cement is stored. They cannot say bring Dangote cement. That means that there are different kinds of cement in that store. That means maybe there is a partition for Dangote, there is a partition for Bua, there is a partition for other cement, right? So that means that my point is that it is in sync. It is a step at a time. I hope this makes sense to us. I hope so. If it does, you can react to say, yes, you understand, it makes sense. I need that feedback to be sure, because this is the simplicity of SQL, because a lot of people do not know that. So people have been wanting to say, how is like this thing? So this is, it's either you are creating. So that is why we have different kind of role. We have what we call a database administrator. They are the one in charge of control. We have data, of course, we have database management, which is to manage the database. Then we have data analyst that will get, meaning that data analyst will only is not creating a database. His role is to get something from the database that somebody is managing. So the person in charge will now give you access to say, okay, let me grant you access. Let me allow you to go to where they ask you to go and get something. So I hope this simplifies all of this for everyone. I hope if there are questions, you can ask. So after then we select, if time permit, you can finish. If not, don't worry, don't give yourself stress. But let us go straight to, so I'm going to escape on this. And now we want to work. I won't do too much because my other colleague is just going to take it away. But let me just say, okay, now I have not opened uh, we said we should do two things, right? So you can see that I've not opened except for Teams or PowerPoint, right? So if I stay here and I search for, of course, it's going to come up, but you can type SSMS. You can see it here, right? So if I type SSMS, this will have come up. It comes up, and I'm going to click, and this will just open the environment. Let me call it environment or the studio. Just like you want to record a music session, you have to go to the studio. When you get to the studio, you now want to say, okay, play track one or play something. So now we want to enter into the studio. And whatever you've done, don't worry. I'm not going to click anything other than connect me to my studio. So when I click on connect, I expect this to open. So let's assume this is blank, nothing, no database, but of course, in reality, I work. This is my work. So there's database. But in this place, just say there is no database. How do you then create a database? I have just a few minutes. Wherever I stop, my other colleague is prepared to take it from there. So my own point is I want to ensure that it is simplified for everyone so that by the time you begin to ensure in all those functions, it will make sense to you. Now, this is blank. Nothing is there. How do you then create a database? Watch. I'll be making reference to the slide because of for your sake. All right. So remember that okay, just a moment. Remember that in this slide, um, look at it. Create database, right? I can call it anything. I'm going to call it Yes Excel, or let me just call it community, right? So I'll go to this environment and say, look at where my cursor is. If I click on, okay, let me stay here. Look at this. If I right click on this, can you see new database? Can you see maybe you want to restore database or something? If I click on new database, for instance, what will happen? It's taking me here, which I don't want to go through this route. Now, if I click on new query, right, then an interface like this will open. Remember, this is me. I just want to ensure everyone is fine. So if I go front and back, it is for our good. If I go back here, take a look. Can you see that there's something like something query? And I will just issue this command. Any question, please? Any question? Okay. So if I say just as simple as what you saw on that screen. So if I just say, okay, I want to create, I will then type create, create what? Database. Please, if your mic is on, you want to help us minimize the noise. And that's okay. This command, though, we actually, okay, let me come and mute the person, please. Because this will be part of the recording so that when we are watching, we don't have issues. Please, if your mic is on, you can help us mute, please. Okay, I think I need to mute the person. Just a moment, please. Okay. So now, when I issue this, you will now, the next thing is to mention the name. So let's say that this, let me say community, right? Community. If I put, of course, I can execute it, or let me just make it like it is in. Now, all I need to do is to say this word though that I've written, help me run it or execute. If it's either you press F5 or you just click. So when I click now, it's saying that the command completed successfully. But remember, it's just to say that I'm talking to Miriam and I say, Miriam, I need a store. Help me look for a store. I need a warehouse. So Miriam has now found the warehouse, but the warehouse is as empty as anything. So, But this means that please, if your mic is on, help us mute. So Miriam has okay. So Miriam has helped us to get a place. We now need to go there. I'm going with my carpenter or those guys that will help me to begin to create table to partition the warehouse. Okay. Now remember that this is created. If I, for instance, if I come to databases and I expand these databases, community that I just did now is not existing before, is now there. But even if I open this community, it's as empty as anything. It's just to let you know that this is done. All right. Now that this is done, I then want to create a table in the database. So for instance, if I just permit me to, okay, let me say new, okay, it's fine. Let me just say new query to take it a step at a time. So I want to create table now. If you look at this place, right, it shows you available databases. I just want to make it simple instead of saying use, but I want to drop it down. Then you see that there is community. If I also don't want to pick community directly, I can say use to reference the community, but let me just call community, right? So I'm within the community environment now. I'm in the database for the community. So that's where I am. So I then want to create a table. What will I do? If I say create table, you're not okay. Now that you want to create a table, what name do you want to call the table? Remember this this PowerPoint. Look at it. So that means that you will say create table, then mention the name of the table, right? When you mention the name of the table, remember that you must begin to say the type of that column. You mention the name of the column and the type. If you look at the image on my right. So that's exactly, it may not be exactly this. I just want to, but I can actually try and do this for you. So the name of the table, let's say is people, or yes, let me call it people. People is the name of the table. People. That's the name of the table. Then I will open bracket this way. Let me know if you are following. Should I proceed?
Yes, sir, you can proceed.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. So now that I've opened bracket, in order to make this work neat, I can write everything on a single line, but permit me to press enter so that it can be readable, right? Please, I'm going to stop in the next 6 minutes so that my colleague can take it. He's going to share a screen and just take it from there. Now, let's say this is ID. Remember, we are just following so let's say this is ID. That this is the column, and this ID should be integer. I press int. I can, anyhow, don't worry, it's fine. Now that I press int, I also want to say, do not allow it to be empty. So I can say not null. So that's one. Remember that for everything you issue, I'm going to come back here. You can see, I'm just going to follow this. Remember, column name, then data type, comma. That's for column 1. You do the same for column 2 and column 3. So I hope this is very simple for everyone. So I'm going to say that's the first one. Then this one should be, what is this? So full name, right? Full name. And it should be different characters. So I can say vaca. And what is the length? So I could say the length should just be maybe 20. Let's just say 20, right? Then I close the bracket for this. Then I put comma and press enter. I'll just finish with just this one. Let's say this is gender, and this is also variable character, and it should also, let me just say 20, please. 20, then comma, enter. Let's say this is department is the name. And it should also be variable character, and it should be 20, right? Then comma again, and that this should be age, and this age will be integer, and this should be salary. I'm trying to remember what image is in that thing that I share with us, and it should be integer. I think that's all right. Then I will now specify that, okay, you can see that there's still red line. And I say, okay, um, this is all the information I want for now in on that table. And that consider this guy called primary key to be ID. Now that column called ID is what you should use. So if I put this one now, remember that there was an open bracket, right? So that means that this is deliberate. The reason why you are still seeing red line is that I only close bracket for this. There is need for to close the starting bracket. So I can say, oh, okay, SQL, thank you. Then I can say this. You can see no more error. So if I execute this now, if I say execute, can you see? Now, this simply means header of a table has been created, but there is no information yet. It is only the header. So if I go and check, for instance, if I expand this and I expand community, I should see a table among the tables, but there will only be one table now. Look at it, called people. Database, DBO simply means that, so called people, but this table will only have header. Then the next thing is to say, I want to put information in the table or on the table. Then if I say new query, I can actually still continue like run it. Let's say new query, right? This one, I will now say, I can still stay in community, right? Or let me just think to make it simple. So I want to insert into. So maybe I should stop here. I've hit into the time of my other colleague. Mr. Obami, should I finish this or you just take it away from here?
Please finish this.
Okay. Now,
Finish this.
we now say that now that we have the table, we now say insert into. So I can just say insert. I can also write it in lowercase. It's so that it can just be fine. Insert into. So into what? Into is a function, right? So I would insert into. Remember, please, what is the name we call the table? Everyone, of course. I need someone to respond just to be sure the person is following. What was the name we call the table we created?
People.
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 Thank you. Thank you. So I will now say insert into people. So people, right? Now, when I say insert into people, of course, it's already suggesting here. So I can then say, what do you want me to put into? I say value. Value is also so values. Now, because it's a function, of course, I must open bracket. I will now follow that thing step by step. So let me press enter to also make this readable. Then I'll say that we say ID is the first one on that table. So I'll say what should be the ID of this person? Let's say 01. That is the ID. Then I'll say comma. Then after ID is full name. So anytime you are writing text, you put one quotation here. So quote before Olajide, Olajide Idowu. Then I'll put quote after one quote. Now, I've mentioned the ID. I've mentioned the full name. The next one I'll put comma is gender. Gender is also text. So I put quotation before and after. I will also say comma. Then there is department. So department is, so because it's also a text, so I also put this. So let's say this is data. Let me just say data. Just for me to just say data or data management. Data management. Then I also put code. Then I'll put comma to separate. This one, let's say his age is 22. Remember what I'm doing? I'm following the data type I have added, or that I said each column should be. So his
Sorry,
age is
Mr. Jide,
22.
sorry to interrupt you. I think a better way they can visualize this is copy the schema you created for the table. Let it be at the top of your query so they can see column name and what you're inserting.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. Reason why I wanted to do, okay, everyone, I can continue from here actually.
Absolutely correct.
You get, I want them to see one by one. Reason why so let me go copy this and just continue. So enter. So then I can, so you can see so that you understand ID, full name, gender, department, age, salary is the next one. So salary is also 9,000 or whatever it is. Now, all I need to do is nothing other than to say, let's say these are the information for, of course, according to the table. So I really don't need any other thing other than to close the bracket because salary is the last thing there. Forget about primary key. Then I will say close the bracket for this person's record is complete. So I'll close the bracket. Oh, okay. I'll close the bracket. Then remember, I'll put this one. Then I press enter. I'll say 02 for another person. Let's say this person is Chioma Obi. Chioma Obi. I also remember is a text, right? Then I'll put comma. She's a female. Female. Remember is a text. I'll put comma. I'll put inverted comma. So comma here. This is, let's say she's in HR, right? That's permitting to say HR. Then I can write it in full, but for the sake of time, then our age, let's say she is 21, comma, and our salary, let's say is 512. Now, I would close the bracket and also do this, then press enter. Now, I could go on. My point here is that this is ID, this is full name, this is gender, this is department, this is age, this is what do you call it now? Salary. So I could go on and then populate this. If I execute this now, it's going to do two records just for two people. So you could go on and say, okay, there is this third person. Let's say this person's name is Musa Yusuf. Musa. Oh, okay. Musa Yusuf. Then this person is a male. And sorry, and is in, let's say, sales, and 20, let's say 23 or 22, 23, and let's say 6 months. Then I'll close the bracket and then do this. So with this, let's say this is okay. Let me do one more. All right, this is 04, and this person is Ella. Let's say Ella is a name, comma, she's female. She's in PMO. Let's just say she's in PMO. PMO. Then let's say she's 21. And let's say her salary is 7. Then I close the bracket and I put this. So remember that at the start of this, there was a bracket. Remember, all this that we are doing is just a replication of, let me move to the next one. So take a look at this. You will see that after the last one, right, then we can execute. Any question, please? Any question, please? Any question, please? Yes, please go ahead. Amaka, please, your mic is.
My question is in the meeting chat.
Oh. Okay. So, Mr. Yobami, please, you can take it away. While I answer, so I'm going to stop sharing so you can share your screen. Why is there an error line at the end of it? Oh. Okay. Okay, let's trace. Don't worry, I will help you type it again. So we should also have the same thing, but let me press enter and say 01 slash Olajide then his email is in is in data. So let's just use in management. Then is 22 and then okay. So let's execute this. So this, okay, just a moment. Incorrect. Look at it, incorrect syntax near. So if you check, just to be sure, not now. Yeah. Management. I really don't expect the 15 stats by incorrect syntax. Near O2. Okay, let me see. Near O2. Okay. That's what you see. Just a moment. Oh. Don't mind me. I want to be very fast. Let me begin to copy all of this. It's because I'm looking at time. It's correct. So watch. I'm going to repeat all of this for each one. I wasn't looking at that. Thank you for that. Control V. Control V. You know, I said for each record, it won't do that now. Let me increase this down. Okay. I always want you to see it clearly. The reason why I wanted to do it on that side. So which other one? After this, I think that's all. So insert record for this one. Insert record for this. Insert it into people. So this is how to do it. So it won't flag error now. So Amaka, I hope I answered you.
Yes,
Amaka,
yes, thank you.
All right, so that's it. So don't mind me, I was very fast, so I'm supposed to repeat insert into everything. So okay, let me just do one more then. Mr. Ayobang, are you ready? Let me do one more table and say select.
I'm ready, yeah.
Okay, so let me just say select. Now that we've done, which one is the last one we did? Where is it? Now that we've done this, right, let's now say, or let me even say, you know what, let me just say select is fine so that you can see and appreciate. So I can say select all, that's star. Then from, remember that we want to go to the table. The name of the table is people, from people. Yes, see, you already know there is a table existing called people. So I could run in the board, let me put this, so and say execute this. Remember, go to people, go to the table and select all record. So you can see, so this is what you now get. So that is how to go about it. Any question at this point? Remember, we created a database, we created a table, we insert into them, we are now selecting. Any question before my colleague share, any question, is it clear? If it is clear, just respond. I can see your response. Oh, thank you. Why? Okay, good. Any question, is it clear? If it is clear, you can give a thumbs up just to be sure. Because by the time we begin to do some things now, so that it doesn't look awkward to us. Any question before it comes up? Okay, Amaka said it's clear. Adejumoke said it's clear. Follow, is it clear? Any question?
Sorry, I'm still
Yes.
getting the error. So I don't know whether
And
I'm
so take a look
doing
at my screen. Look at
something.
my screen. Let
Okay.
me go back to, take a look at this. You must insert into. After insert into people, when you pass in this, you'd also do the same, insert into for this, insert into for this, insert into for this. If I still want to add more record, for instance, if I say there is 05, right? 05, then let's say this is Taju. We'll just, pardon, T, you right? Amak Emeka, right? Then, comma, male. So if I do it this way, right, I'll still be getting there. So I need to say insert into before I can. This is me showing you maybe this is what you've been doing. So meaning that before this guy has to come. But let me finish typing. I can just copy and insert to instead of going back. So this is a male. Is in, let's say it's also in, let's just say it's in marketing department. Sorry, comma, marketing. Marketing. So 1, comma, let's say 23, comma, 8, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or something. So if I do this, it will still be showing error. Say near start. So that means that this insert into, right? It ought to start that 5. It ought to start before this line. So if I stay here just to be to make it easy, then this. Take a look, no more error. So Doze, did I answer you? Are we fine now? Amaka, your hand is up. Doze, are you fine now?
Please, meeting chat.
Ah, can you kindly ask?
Yes.
Because having to navigate from here too. I'll still look at meeting chat. Okay, don't worry. Once I leave here, I will answer it. So Doze, are you fine now? You should not be having any error.
I'll still check it. I'm still having the error, but I'll check it. I
So
put the
if you
insert into, but I'm not sure whether there is something, whether I put a space somewhere, but I've checked everything.
did you also follow the one at the top? Reason why my colleague said I should put this here. Remember whatever data type.
Okay, so that part where the integer, after the integer there is not null, is not showing on mine as not null. So that not null isn't showing. That grayed out not null.
Don't worry, did you
After
type it
I did.
this way? And
Yes,
you
I
put
did.
comma.
Yes, I did. Okay, I should remove the comma. I can't see a comma with you.
No. Look, there is though. You must use comma to separate one information from another.
Okay, I put the comma. But did you type the not null?
I type it like on my keyboard, just like I type vaca.
All right.
Okay. So, oh yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing. Mr. Ayobami, you can share your screen. So let me look at. So why you share? Because we want to manage time. What I've just done is to prepare the grant. Give us. So please, Ayobami, you can go ahead. Insert into
All
before
right,
five.
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
What if you have up to 1,000 value in insert into? What
So
if you have?
please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay.
So Amaka is saying, what if you have up to 1,000 value in insert into? Amaka is not clear. What do you mean by 1,000 value? Like
Sorry,
the
maybe
type.
where she is noisy. So what she's saying is, what if you have up to 1,000 values? So you have up to 1,000 people that you want to insert, put their data
Oh,
on the table. Will you have to use that insert for before you start everyone? So that means you
okay. So
have up to 1,000 inserts.
this is to prepare the grant. Let's just go step by step. This is to prepare, of course, I won't be doing that. You know that my colleague will talk about it. You know that you can actually, you know that developer can develop an app that would so everyone can pass in the record. It goes somewhere. But of course, this is just to show you. Remember, this is just to show how this thing is created behind the scene. But of course, developers can develop some app that somebody will just fill all of this into, and it's going to be storing here. Let me know if you understand. Adejumoke.
No, I don't. I actually like the question, but I don't understand your answer. I think the
Okay, so
question is
let me speak
valid.
to that. Let me
Go
speak
ahead,
to
please.
that, right? So, this class, Mr. Olajide has started it as SQL 101, which is introduction to SQL. So what he has done is for somebody that is just practicing, just getting started with SQL. But when you now have data going to 1,000 rows and you want to insert them into a table, there are ways you can import data from Excel into a table. So if you have that data, 1,000 rows, maybe in an Excel or a text file or somewhere, you can put it in an Excel document, put it in a column, or even create a table in that Excel file. Save it there and do a bulk upload into your table in the SQL Server database. So there's the import export wizard of SQL Server that allows you to do that. I don't
Let
know
me
if
know if
it's
you
not too
understand.
technical.
Yeah, I understand this one, that you can actually import your data instead of having to do the input one after the other.
Yes.
Yes, the reason why we said we want you, like we want to assume zero knowledge, so that people know that, because if I open my database, you can't see 1,000, you will see like 500 rows or more. So people need to know how come, instead of going to upload, right? How can I do this? So these are some of the questions people send it to my DM to say, they will just open something from in the office, they will just see some tables. How did that table get there? Like if they want to do the table, what will they do? That's why we show this table. So I hope my other
Thank
point
you.
is now to say, Amaka, your hand is still up. Go ahead.
No, sorry, my environment
Okay.
is speak.
So you can drop the question then. Go ahead.
Um, so if we have less than 1,000 values to insert, we can go through this route. That's what you're saying.
No, you won't go through this route. The point is still that you don't need to go through this route. Amaka,
Sir?
apart from the fact that a data analyst does not need to do this. You can mute your mic, don't worry. You can mute. A data analyst does not need to do this. You don't need to create. You are not building. A data analyst will query. But my point is that either you have less than, or you have maybe less than 1,000 or even 5 rows, and you don't want to type it. There is a data that has been captured somewhere, which you will just need to upload. Let's say, for instance, you have a Microsoft form. People are filling the form, right? Online, and they are submitting. When somebody, maybe you want to do a meeting and people are supposed to fill. So when they submit those information, it will store somewhere. When it stores somewhere, you can't be typing it here. So you cannot print out a paper and now start typing. No. you need to upload, bring it into this place. Instead of writing, you will just say upload. It's just to say, just like Power BI, for instance. You want to get data, right? You want to analyze something. Power BI has a command called get data. So when you click on get data, it will go to that place and bring that in. So SQL also has that will go and bring the document and help you upload the table here. Let me know if that answers you.
Yes, please.
Okay. So thank you. Okay, go ahead.
It's clear.
Okay, good. So, Mr. Obama, please take it away. Please, my people always ask questions, so we must answer.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
So I just dropped a link to a pool on the charts. I want everyone to just go there and let's see the distribution of our SQL ratings. How many beginners do we have? How many people are intermediate? How many people are advanced? So I just want to see that in a few minutes. Okay, so I can see 2 beginners already. Only 2 people have voted. Okay, so 8 votes, 100% beginners. Amazing. Okay, so there are 3 intermediate persons. Okay. When we are all done voting, let me know. There are many on the call. There are 24 of us on the call.
We are 24 here.
Okay, so let's do this within the next 1-2 minutes before we start. Let the votes come in, please, guys. Interesting. Okay, so I think I already have an idea of what to do. So I was coming with the mindset that, okay, the typical trainings I do on SQL whereby people are already familiar, but from the conversation so far, I see that I need to take it a step backward to really get the attention of my audience, which is fine. So basically, I would give us backstory. What is SQL? How does SQL work? Even before we go into the hands-on, I hope time permits us to go into this. So to answer many of the questions that have been coming up, the first thing is, what is SQL? SQL is structured query language. So SQL is just a programming language, like every other programming language, like C#, Java, Python, R, and all of this. But the only thing is SQL itself is not a procedural language. It is more of a declarative language. So when I say procedural is like your Java, where you create a method, you create a class, and you write your code the way you want it to execute. But on the other side, declarative programming languages are such like SQL are those ones whereby you tell it what you want to do. You declare to the system that do this and it does it for you. How it does it is not of your business. The engine will do that itself. It's been programmed that way to do it. And that takes us back to the Olajide's presentation whereby he showed us create database and he gave it a name. So he was just telling the SQL Server engine that create a database with this name and it created it. So he's declaring to the system, this is what I want, create this. He also went ahead to say, create a table. He gave the table name, he gave the columns of the table and the properties of those columns, the data type, the constraint on it. Do I want this table to be null, this column to be nullable? Does that means, do you want that column to allow null values whereby somebody can insert to that table and not provide a value? If yes, then you have to make that column nullable. If not, if you don't want it to have null values, then you have to put a constraint on that column to say not null. Meaning, if somebody tries to insert a null value into that column, it will throw an error when you try to execute your insert statement to tell you that, oh, it can't insert a null into a non-nullable value column. So that's just the concept of a procedural programming language. So you tell the system, do this, and it does it. How it does it is none of your business. The system is the one that's designed to do that. So secondly, SQL is structured query language, meaning you only use it to query structured data. And a typical example of a structured data would always sit in your database. A database is a structured like a model or a module, let me call it that way, that contains tables, that contains other database objects like a view, like a stored procedure, functions,
Just a
or
moment, Mr. Abami.
yeah.
Rosemary, your hand is up. It's just explaining. Okay, go ahead with your question.
Yeah,
Though. It's fine.
good morning, sir. Good afternoon.
Welcome.
We can't see your presentation screen. All we're seeing is just the pool coming in. That's the screen we're
Yeah.
seeing.
So like I said, let me go back to my presentation. My presentation is a bit high level, but I'm trying to start from the basics.
I hope you understand. The reason why you can't,
Yes.
because we want to ensure that we are not, even from the pool, don't worry, we already prepared to say we want to start from zero. So that nobody is, because if you start speaking the language raw, you won't understand without the foundation, which was one of the things we started from. Rosemary, let me know if you understand. So this slide
Yes, I
is not
understand, sir.
for baby step. Okay,
At all.
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Mhm.
Yeah. So back to what I was trying to say. SQL is a structured query language. It's designed to query structured data, and your structured data will sit in a database. And in a database, you have your tables that contains your data. Like the people table we created earlier is a structured object, whereby you can now write a query against it to say, select from this table, insert into this table, or even update values in this table. So that is the concept of structured query language. So for other object and data that are not structured, like your voice notes, your images, you can't store them in a structured database like a SQL table like that. You have to first transpose them, maybe store them in a data lake, then use some data engineering concepts to now convert them and save them in your database. So all of these are some high-level data engineering concepts that I don't want to go into for now. So next thing I also want to speak about is the concept of building or feeding data into your database. So we had questions around
So
how do you
sorry, Mr.
insert?
Obami, you know what you need to
Okay.
do for me?
Yeah.
What you need to do for me is that stay on SSMS environment
Okay.
and
That's fine.
whatever little you get the point, but let's not go into advanced and just pick it from there. You get, so that I really want them to see the practical. You get, but we'll not go
Okay.
into advanced so that they can see. That will corroborate your point, so they will know what that is all about. So thanks.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I assume everybody has Management Studio installed on their systems. We also have the
Yes.
SQL Server instance installed on our systems, right? So you typically
Yes.
will open up your Management Studio, then you come to connect. It will usually prompt you so you can connect to the database engine. So at this point, you need to provide the engine name, which is your server name. So once you provide that, you connect. All things being equal, you should be able to connect if you had installed it properly. So when you connect to the server, there are a number of things you could see. So there's a drop down for the databases in that server. So inside there, you have system databases, you have database snapshots, then you have your user-defined databases that you have created. So all of these are user databases that I have created. So if I want to create more, I'll just go to my new query.
I'm sorry, please. So someone asks, every question is
Okay,
valid, please.
sure,
Please,
sure.
what is no this is so Amaka said, please, what is server name? Kindly post it here. So which okay, let me leave it to you to answer. Because Amaka, this server is okay, maybe you want to help me define that there is on-premise and in the cloud. So that unless anyways, you get
Okay.
it's fine over
Yeah,
me.
okay. So let me speak to that. Let me go back to the connect menu. So when you have this connect to server view, it's expecting you to provide a server name. So you have two options. Either you provide a server name which is local on your system. If you are doing like a self-study, you have a local instance installed on your laptop. You could provide a server name in this point, or you could connect to a server on your network if you are in an enterprise environment whereby you have several SQL Server configuration set up. If you have the server name and the instance name, you can also provide it here and connect. Then finally, if you also have an SQL Server database, an Azure SQL database or an SQL server on the cloud, you could provide the instance of that server name here and connect to it as well. So it's flexible. It allows you to connect to just any server that you have access to. Of course, if you don't have access to it, you won't be able to connect. So I don't know if that answers your question. Then
Just
the
a
next
moment,
part
let
of,
me answer them. Okay, Amaka said, all right, noted. Then Adetutu can help me share. Yes, then. So can you help me share the studio? No. So Adetutu, how can I say, nobody can share his studio with you. Okay, please answer. Mr. Ivan, please.
Okay.
Answer.
All right. Okay, that's fine. So when you want to start using SQL Server, like I said, you need to download the Management Studio, which is just like the environment you use to access the server itself. The server is just a service you install on your system that will be running on the system. But without the Management Studio, you can't connect to it, you can't create objects, you can't create database inside the instance. So you need to go to Microsoft website to download the Management Studio. It's a free application you can download. You can also download your SQL Server instance configuration setup. Usually practice, you start with the Express edition, then as you proceed, you can go for developer, then maybe when you're in the office environment, you can then install the enterprise versions. So all of this, but for basic starters like this, we start with Express. So it allows you to do basic things you need to know about SQL Server. So once you have all of those things installed, it's just for you to launch your Management Studio, provide the server instance name, and connect. Then connecting, there are two ways to connect. In fact, more than two actually, but basically there are two very critical ones, which is either use your Windows authentication or use an SQL Server authentication approach. So when you are setting up installing the SQL Server instance, there's the menu where there's an option to enable both, either SQL Server authentication or a Windows authentication. So at that point, you also need to define the service accounts that will be running the connection using the SQL Server authentication approach if you don't want to use your Windows authentication or your Windows sign-in. So are there any questions? Sorry, I'm
No,
not looking
she
at the
wants you to
chat.
expand it's already on the Windows. Okay, okay, Amaka said, please, can you expand your window? Or can you
Which of them?
expand window? I need to know what she means. That's what I know. I mean, she said, please, can you expand your window? So Amaka, I want to know, because what window are you referring to? Is it this interface or the connection? It's a bit small to see. Oh, I hope you are not on the phone. It's bigger on my own screen. Oh. Okay, maybe my own side is okay. It depends on the laptop. So maybe my own screen was bigger. They could see that Explorer portion. So
Are you
that's
saying this?
Amaka, are you saying this? It's a bit small. Maybe it can maximize. Okay, maybe you want you to zoom the screen. Are you saying you should zoom out the screen? Maybe that's what she's asking for.
Oh wow. Okay, how do I do that? My magnifier.
Amaka, can we manage it this way? Because it will be struggling between going back to.
Yeah. But is it better now on your
Can we
end?
manage it this way so that it doesn't struggle? Because it's writing code by the side, we have to zoom like. So Amaka, can we use it this way? I think we can manage it. There's another question. The screen is not visible. It is visible. Maybe it's your network. So you can, don't worry, you can call. I'm trying to answer all the questions. So Mr. Jacob, I can see the screen. So maybe it's your network. You can leave and rejoin. So Amaka says she's fine. Okay, no problem. That means we can manage it. So awesome. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. So when you are connected, it shows you this menu. You see the server name and your connection, the user that is connected to the server at the moment. Then you see the databases, you see the security menu, the server object, replication, and all of this. So for this class, we are focusing majorly on the database. So how do we create a database? How do we create objects within the database? How do we insert records into our database? How do we query the database? All of these things are what we do under the database. Of course, beyond that too, within the database, there's also the level of database management, of security, but I will not be touching that for now. So How do I proceed now? I have connected. I want to create a database. I'm just going to say new query.
Or
Then
should
I
we
would
work with
say,
adventure work where you select maybe top 1,000? I don't know. I'm just asking.
okay, I think I get what you are
So that I can
saying.
make, instead of, they have seen how to create and all of that, you get.
Okay, so let me expand this database, AdventureWorks 2016. So if I expand this, I have a number of tables actually. So here we can see a person table, person address. Let me look for something, person.person. Okay, so this is another table here. Let me query this. So if I want to query, there are two ways to query. Either you right click on the table name and do a select top 1,000, or you just go ahead to just write a select statement. So if I want to do a select statement, I will just say select. So if I want to select all records from a table, I just use the select star from my table name. But also remember, there's a concept of schema. So schema means where is that object stored? So we have, just like the backstory Mr. Olajide was giving about a warehouse, whereby you have demarcations in a warehouse. So I want to go back to that story now. So this database here, AdventureWorks, is a database for an online, I think it's a retail business, yeah, not like our Jumia here in Nigeria. So this is the database of the application. So let's just have it in our mind that, okay, we are looking at Jumia's database now. This AdventureWorks 2016 is Jumia's database for their e-commerce platform. So within the database, they have several objects. You can see there are some in DBO schema. So a schema is just like a grouping of objects such that I want to create something to gather objects of the same attribute. So I can have a schema for sales, I can have a schema for person, for HR. So there's a schema for HR. So every object or table that is relating to HR will be created into that schema. I can have a schema for persons, for production, then for purchasing and for sales. So these are typical schemas that the business, Jumia for now, I'm assuming it's Jumia, are using. So if tomorrow they want to start doing maybe Jumia food now they want to start doing Jumia food, all they just need to do is to create a new schema called food. So I'll show us how to create that. So just like we said earlier, it's still the same create command, create schema. I'll call it food. Sorry. And I execute. So it tells me that the schema has been created. So how do I verify that a schema is created? I just need to come to my storage. Oh, sorry, programmability. Then I come to, where is that guy? Assemblies. Yeah, security, my bad. So schemas. So yeah, you can see the schema I just created, food. So the ones we were seeing earlier was DBO. So DBO is a default schema. Sorry, I didn't mention that. For every database you create, it always comes with the default DBO schema. So DBO just simply means database objects. So it's generic. It doesn't speak to any business line or any department or whatsoever. So it's a generic schema that if you don't create a user-defined schema, all objects you are creating will be going directly to the DBO schema. But when you want it to go into a specific schema, the first thing you need to do is to create that schema, then now create objects into that schema. So now if I want to create a table into the schema food, I will say create table. I'll give the table name. So I have to put my schema name first, food dot, let me just say, customers. So I provide the attributes of the customers that I want to create. So I'll say customer ID, the data type of the column called customer ID. I want to make it integer, and I don't want it to be nullable. So I'll say not null. So I'll not put too much columns. I'll say customer name. So I'm putting varchar. Then varchar is another form of data type that you use majorly for text or for string. So I'll put this to be a length of, say, 25. Then I can put maybe address. So for address, okay, so address is a keyword, so I will have to put something to make it unique. So let me just say customer address. Put it together. So for this, I'll use varchar. So there's also the option of doing varchar with max, which is the maximum value the varchar data type can take. Or if you don't want to restrict it to something, if you want to restrict rather, you can say maybe 200 or 255. Then finally, let me just say phone number. So we know that our typical phone number in Nigeria is 11 characters. But if you want to put the 234, then maybe 15 should do. So I'll put varchar. Then I'll close my initial bracket.
Remember your semicolon. I mean so there is a question why you try to correct that.
Oh shit.
So there is this
Okay,
question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Someone said, what's the schema? Is it a subset of database, or is the schema higher than hierarchy or something? Let me read it accordingly. Is the schema a subset of a database, or
yes,
is the schema that is higher in the hierarchy? What's the relationship between them?
Okay, so let me explain. In a SQL Server instance, which is this guy that we have connected to, this is my server name that I provided when I was connecting, this LJ blah 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 / SQL Express. So inside of it, I have my database called AdventureWorks, which is the bigger box. So if I go into that database, I can now see all the schemas in that database, which are this. So if I go to another database within that instance, I will see another set of schemas. So I come down to security. This is lender ODS. If I come down here, I can see another set of schemas. So schema is a subset of your database. Database is a subset of your SQL Server instance. I don't know if I've answered your question.
I'm sure you have. So Miriam, please, are you fine?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so please.
All right. So I've provided how many columns now? 1, 2, 3, 4 that I want to create for this customer table in the food schema. So the next thing is for me to put my last semicolon and execute this query. So I highlight it and execute. So it tells me command completed successfully. So how do I check? I come back to my AdventureWorks database. So because I have opened down all of these menus and I've created an object, I need to do a refresh. So this is the button to refresh, F5, or you just right click the database name and refresh. So every change you have done, every command you've executed, at when you have expanded all of those windows, would not show until you do a refresh. So I'm coming back to tables. So you can see my food.schema customers table now. So it has created that schema, that object in the food schema. So if I had not defined, so if I just said create table customers, let's see what happens. It will create it, but it's going to go directly to the DBO schema. So if I execute this, you see it creates the same object. So let me do a refresh again. Expand my tables. So you can see DBO customers because I didn't specify the schema I want it to go to. So it just takes it to the default DBO schema for me. So I don't know if you have any questions at this point.
No questions yet. If there are questions, you can raise your hand or drop it. Please go ahead.
Awesome. So let me see. I don't know if we have some views in this database. So I just want to touch the critical things we need to know. Okay, good. So we have, beyond the tables, we have what we call views. So views are just mirrors of your data tables, your tables basically. And views are written with SQL commands. So that is going to probably take us into the different keyword SQL commands. So we have a view here that is in the HR schema, and is a view for employee. So let's see what this view is doing. So I will just directly query the view. Then we'll go back to see how the view was designed or created. So this is a view that gives us full details of an employee. So I can see the employee's business entity ID. Maybe that's like a department ID, person's first name, last name, job title, phone number, and basic information about that employee. So now let's go to the underlining query. So a view, like I said, is just a mirror, and it's without the underlining tables, you can't get data from a view. So let's see the underlining tables for this view now. So how do I see that? There are two ways. Either I come to script view as and say, let me just even create the view in a new query. I will not be creating it anyways because it's already existing. So this will show me the constituent of that view, what that view is doing actually. So here we can see this is the command that was used to create it, create the view in HR employee. And you can see it's doing select from employee table in HR schema, doing an inner join to person table in person schema, still doing some inner joins to several tables, the business entity address to
Just
address
a
table.
moment.
Yeah.
Miriam, sorry, I wanted him to land before I asked him the question, but let me just read it now. So
All
there
right.
is a question: is it best practice to always create schema, or is there is disadvantage for using the default DBO schema?
So best practice, you should cultivate the habit of using schemas. Yeah. And reason being that it helps you to better manage your data, and also when you want to get to the level of giving users access to your database, you just usually would just want to give access to the schema that concerns the person. So let's say I have an analyst in HR that wants to build some Power BI reports. I know that by default, all of the objects in HR schema, I'll just give him access to that. So I don't necessarily need to give him access to production or give him access to sales. I only give him to the schema that concerns him. Then if he then needs to get data from some other schemas that are not strictly related to HR, I can grant him access to those objects individually. But everything for HR, I grant him to grant access directly at the schema level. So I will not be granting access to the department table individually, to employee individually, to all of these tables individually. I'll just say this guy's username, I'm giving him a select on the HR schema, on the human resources schema. With that, every object in that schema he would see. And if tomorrow we are creating new objects into that schema, he will still see it because it's still in that schema which he has permission to view objects from. But if I'm doing a generic DBO schema, then I have to now be selecting tables individually to give access to users. And when this business grows and you have like 2,000 users, it becomes cumbersome to manage user access to your data objects. So as much as possible, I always encourage people to always use the schemas to manage their data, because when your data grows, it now becomes a burden on the team managing the data, probably the database administrator or the data manager, whoever is in charge. But when you have structures like the schemas properly implemented, defined, and managed, it helps you to manage your user access properly. The stress on the person doing it is limited.
So you
I
have
don't know
two
if that's
questions.
okay.
Yes, that I'm sure that clarifies. So someone said for simplicity's sake. I hope
Yeah.
that you know what Adetutu, we have explained it, but it's fine. She said for simplicity's sake, can we import data managed in Excel? So just help me answer again to that.
For simplicity's sake, yes, we can. It's very possible. Like I said, there's the import export wizard. So let me just show you. I won't go into that now because it's going to be
Then, so that
deviating.
you can answer the two questions at once. There's an
Okay.
expert here asking, is there where row level security comes to play? So
Row level security. Okay.
that's RLS.
So it's really not called row level security at the
It's not called row
database
level
level.
security here. Yes.
Yeah, it's just the database security and user access control, so to say. Yeah. And like I said, in the line of what I've said earlier, you best manage this by creating database rules, and you assign users to that rules. So in that rule that you have created, you can now assign that rule to a schema or to an object or to maybe a function, depending on what you actually want to achieve. So to make it more practical, right? Let's say I have a set of analysts. I have my management people. I want analysts to be able to just view maybe few tables, and I want it to be specific to their regions. So somebody in Lagos should only see data for his region. I don't want him to see something outside Lagos. Somebody in Ibadan should not see something happening in Lagos. I'll do all of those in my reporting layer. But at the database level, the best you can do is say, okay, this guy, you can only see this object in this schema, or you can only view modify X, you can't query Y. So you can manage what somebody would see, what somebody else will not see, by either going granular to the person's account or by using the database rules.
So
I
please
don't know
help
if
us
that
show.
answers.
Amaka, you can respond. Amaka, what is trying to say, but why I'm trying to corroborate, please help us show how to import for. Oh, okay, don't worry. Another question before I answer that. Just to confirm, you say object. Please simplify what object in SQL. Okay. This
Okay,
person needs
object in
clarification of
SQL.
object in SQL. Yeah.
Object in SQL is anything you create in a database: a view, a table, a function, a schema. All of those things are objects. So anything inside this adventure works now, these tables, all of these are objects. So let's stick it down. So all of these are my objects. So like I said, remember I started from saying DBO is database objects, is a default schema. So everything you do will always go into the DBO schema by default. But when you now want to customize it, then you need to create your named user schema, which was what I did for the food schema I created. So also now to import data from Excel, so I'll just need to come to my database name. So you need to go to the database where you want to run that activity. You right click on the database, then you come to tax. Then you have the import data wizard, you have the export data wizard. So if you want to import data into that database, you do imports. If you want to export data, you do exports. So it brings up a menu. Why is it not coming up? Okay, yeah, it is. So welcome to the SQL Server import and export wizard. So you then define your source and your destination. So it's asking you to select select a data source. So if you have that data, my system is a bit slow. If you have your data seated in Excel, you just need to identify here that, okay, my data source is an Excel file. I don't know why is this so slow. Okay, so these are the supported data sources. You can connect to an ODBC, Oracle, SAP, whatever, flat file. So if you are using a text file or a CSV file, you go for the flat file source. But if it's an Excel, you select Microsoft Excel, then you provide the part of the Excel where it's saved on your system. Then you also provide a version of Excel that file is. By default, you could leave it with the default 97 to 2003. Then once you have provided all of this, you do next. Okay, so I've not provided the parts, I can't proceed. So let me just see if I can get a random document. So something that will always happen here is, okay, it will require sometimes that you install an engine. There's this, yeah, this is what I'm saying exactly. So it's always required to install this Microsoft is OLEDB provider to import from Excel to your, what's it called, the SQL Server instance. So until you install this, you can't go beyond this spot. And for me, I really don't work locally on my system, so I didn't bother to set this up. That's why I'm having this prompt.
I'm sure you
I
have
don't know
answered.
if...
Adetutu, please. Hope this clarifies just to be sure. Sorry, Adetolu. This is fine. So I guess she will respond. We can proceed. So you can.
Okay, so let me go back to my management studio.
So yeah,
okay, so I was trying to explain okay, that's fine. I was trying to explain the view. So the view now is now bringing in so many concepts of SQL. So we have the select keyword, we have an inner join, we have aliases. So when I say aliases, for every object that you are querying, so we are querying the employee table. You can say when I hover on it, it's in the AdventureWorks database, it's in the HR schema dot the employee, which is the employee, the table name actually. So I'm giving it an alias or like a friendly name, which is this E. That's what has been done here. So anytime I want to reference this table, I don't necessarily need to write the full name of the table. I don't necessarily need to say employee dots. I just do E dot and it knows that I'm referencing this table. So you can see that that's what has been done here for all of the objects. Person, the alias is as P, and when you want to do your join, you are just doing P dot, that's person dot, this column is equals to employee dot, the column name. So these are just some basic concept of SQL. Then I wanted to speak about data insert. So we have looked at creating the data
Just a moment.
manually.
So in
Okay.
case someone is asking what is the meaning of AS, that is what he's calling alias, just a temporary name. Please let me clarify for them.
Okay, so when I say alias, that's sometimes you see it like this, or you see it as somebody writes it as E. So it means the same thing. So you are giving this table name an alias, which is E. So within the concept of this query, the scope of this query that we are writing or we are looking at, anywhere we say E dot, the system automatically knows that we are talking about this table in this schema. So that's just the concept of aliasing your table names. So you don't necessarily need to always write employee dot over and over. Okay, so that is that. So I wanted to speak about how you populate data into your tables. So we have looked at two ways now. The first one was writing the insert statement, which will fly for small records, but as the tables is growing, as you have more data to insert, that is not a workable approach. The next thing you might want to consider is, okay, do the import approach, which is what I just demoed briefly. Then what about if you have an application like Jumia, for instance, you go on jumia.com, you raise an order, and they tell you, okay, your order has been received and we are going to start processing it to be shipped. You can track this order. So all of those things, when you raise the order, by standard, that record is created in your orders table. So let me scroll down and look for where we have the orders table. So you can see under the sales schema, because orders is a sales process. So it comes to the sales schema. They have created that table in the sales schema. So you have sales order detail and the header. Okay, so also when you're raising an order on the website, you as a person logging into the system, you raise one order. But in that one order, you could have multiple items. I could order for a bag, order for a mobile phone, order for maybe some electronics, for some food items or whatever. So all of those things are the details of my order. So those details would always go into my order details table, or a single record will go into the header, which will show that, okay, customer A has made one order. But in a situation where you make multiple individual orders, you would have multiple orders, multiple records with unique order IDs, which will be coming into this order table, order header table. So I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense to us. Please, if there are questions, let me know. So I'm just trying to query the order header table now. So we have this table with thousands of orders. So it gives us the details of the order ID, which is always unique based on the way the table is configured. So two customers cannot have the same order number. Yeah.
Please, can we react to this? We just have like 5 minutes to round up, just extra 5 minutes. But okay, so what he's trying to show us, is it clear? Do we understand? He's talking about if you have more, okay, good, I can see thumbs up. You know, I mentioned application as a way of populating your, I think someone is not clear.
Okay, somebody is not clear.
I saw maybe someone is shocked. Oh, that means it's not clear. So that's the emoji that I saw. So I don't know. Please go ahead. But we just have 4 minutes to round up. It's just extra.
Oh, wow.
No, we'll still, this is continuous now. So this is the first step.
Yeah. So I just want everybody to have this basic understanding before we even start coding or scripting, because that understanding is very key. So let me explain again. So if you are familiar with Jumia. When you go on Jumia, you raise an order.
Oh, hold on, just a moment, just a moment.
Okay.
So someone said Greek and French mixed with Igbo. So that means it's not clear.
Wow. Okay, so I want to hear the feedback from that person. Can the person unmute and tell me what
Another
is not clear to him?
person said, I know it will be clear when I rewatch the video because I'm lost.
Oh
So you
boy.
get the point.
Okay, so I want one of these people to just speak to me. Let me understand what is not clear to them.
John,
I assume the other
please
people are
speak on
clear.
behalf of Amaka. Does they said I rewatched too? So John, or does they please speak in talk on behalf of these people? Okay, someone said it's a whole lot of information. My brain is not hot right now. We have not even okay, it's
We've not
fine
even
then. I
started this.
understand. Please go ahead.
Okay, the thing
Yeah, I
is,
can hear you.
everything here, the terms are like very, very strange and very low. You understand? I'm looking at this database page and I'm looking at my own download and I'm like, okay, where is it getting all this information from? I'm like, okay, let me
Ah,
know.
okay.
When I
Yes.
get watch it again, I will understand what we're talking about. But it's fine. Like the explanation is quite clear to the extent that you have there. Because these things are just new. Like they're new terms to us, so everything is very jamming. But it's not the way we watch and then we finish it.
Yeah, okay. So I think what I can also do, I'll share the link to this database if you can all download it and have it on your system. So you can also navigate, play around with it. But just to say, this is so to say, that's why I'm using Jumia. I'm referencing Jumia to make it relatable to our environment. This is the database of an online retail business whereby they have orders from customers, they do some production and sell things to customers. People raise orders on their application, and all of this data is collected into this database. So you just, as a user, you just log in from jumia.com and you do your thing. For every click, once you raise an order, that order comes to hit this table in their database, wherever the server is. You as a user, you don't have any business with that, but for them, trying to collect data of their business, they are saving it in these tables that we're seeing here. I'm just trying to make this mental picture such that when you picture what you do on Jumia and how it happens and how it comes into this database, you can relate. So for on your end now, you don't
Mr.
have all of
Ayobami,
these tables.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So let me also
Okay.
help some people. Now they say it looks complicated, unlike Power BI. Let me explain. Power BI is not a data storage, it's not a data collection tool. Power BI is to analyze the data that is here. Now, what he's trying to bring home to us is that, let's say that on your phones, everyone, you have Jumia application and you want to order or you go to their website. Any interaction that you do on the website, or let's say you hold your phone and you order for Jumia food, let's say turkey with something. While you are doing that, the information is coming to this backend, is coming to their own server. This table will now be populated with whatever thing you are doing. Let me know if this makes sense. So it's just showing you that is not the one that created this. It's saying that this one that is here is the database that will collect information from maybe the website of the company or the app. So while you interact with that, let's say 1 million people are using the app. Okay, I need to say it's clear now. So while 1 million people are using the app, the information will be coming to this database and be storing here. That is what he's trying to explain. Okay, so we
Nobody is
have 2 minutes.
inserting it manually. Nobody is coming to this table to say insert into. It's the application that is writing the data here for the business.
Okay, another question for you. Who is
Okay.
usually responsible for this database creation and management in a structured environment?
Okay, so fantastic question. So ideally, they should have a database team that will do the design. Maybe the database administrator could guide them. But in some clients, I've seen environments whereby they have a software development team, the mobile app builders, those that build their mobile apps, and they have somebody within that team that is also skilled in database modeling that can create the objects. So like where I currently work, we have in our database team, we have the database administrator, we have the data manager. Then even in the app development team, we have people that they are good with Python, they are good with Java, C Sharp, Flutter, and all of these, but they still understand database modeling. So they know how to create an object, how to create a foreign key to another table, how to put constraints such that this column must not be nullable. You must not put something that is not a proper data type for that field into that column. So all of those understanding, they know it. So it's a function of the environment that you find yourself. If it's an environment that wants to actually make it granular, the database management team should handle this. But in Nigeria, where we are now, we know that businesses try to merge up skills within their teams. So you can have somebody that has the understanding of database modeling within the software development team, building the application that can do all of these things in the back end.
So do we understand what you just said? It said someone can create an app. The person creating the app on the phone, right, would have catered for column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5, what is here. So while you interact with the app to buy something or to submit a form, it will come here. So this one is the one storing the information that you put on the phone. So just to answer Miriam Olatunji correctly, reason why we said yes is because this server is, let me say, is connected to the app on your phone in a way. So when you drop information on that app, this guy here get it and he populate this table. That's all the story has been saying. So Miriam, that's Miriam Olatunji. Are you fine now? Okay, so what means, so another question for you, Mr. Yobami. You can see it as
so
well, you
I'm
can
seeing the
answer it.
question. Yeah, so database data analysts don't have to do all of this, not at all. The house is just to select and manipulate the data and get insights out of the data stored here. They have no business creating tables or creating views. But it's a good to have. If you as a data analyst, you have the understanding of this, it helps you to even do your analysis better. And you can even recommend to the data engineers or to the developers building the application that I need something that will help me to uniquely identify something. And as such, you are telling them to create one column that you can use to filter and you can use to do your analysis. You get those kind of things, or a column you can use to do a join or a key. So it's a good to have, but not a must have for data analysts. That's the skills of creating database objects and database design.
Answer this one too before I say something.
Okay, so in some data analyst job description, they include SQL knowledge. Of course, as a data analyst, the knowledge is very important, but not advanced into core modeling that it should now become your day-to-day activity. No. As a data analyst, you want to select data from a database, and even as a data analyst, it's not going to be restricted to relational databases. Sometimes you will need to pick data from an API, from a JSON script or documents and all of those things. So just to answer, yes, it's a good to have. So SQL is important for data analysts, for data. So I think every data rule requires knowledge of SQL. So if you're in a data role, you need to understand SQL. So it's now a function of your role that determines the level of SQL competence or expertise you need to have. So for some people, it's just to select data, to query data, to maybe merge data together and some few things. But for some people, it's the modeling of the objects that this data is being collected into. And for some people, it's to even create the environment where this data will sit. So those are your data engineers. Then for some people, they need to create pipelines that will pull data from one application into another environment. Another application will pick data from there and now merge all of this data into one robust environment, which is your data warehouse. And so your data role will determine the level of SQL knowledge you need to have actually.
So please, we understand. Reason why we also show some things at the beginning, there is management, there is storage, there is retrieval. As a data analyst, you are not storing anything. As a data analyst, you are not the data administrator that manage or give access or control. You need to get data from somewhere. You will talk to the guy that is managing to give you access. But in Miriam, I will answer, sorry, in reality, okay, so it's not that this is recorded, right? We have some people now that they are asking them to say, okay, you know, in Nigeria, you must have, just like Mr. Bami is saying, you know, that instead of us to specialize on, say, this is it, they will now say knowledge of SQL, not even knowledge of selector, no, knowledge of database creation. What concerns database administration with data analyst? Do we understand?
Yeah.
So everyone, I hope it's clear. Don't worry. This is just the first day, right? Of course, we will communicate the subsequent one. We will do this for as long as you get. Don't worry, we will do it continuously so that it can make sense. So please, what we are doing is free, is for the community. And I want us to leverage on it. I can assure you that we will simplify this. Power BI is not SQL. They are two different things. So, but SQL is a storage, is a data storage. I mean, not just that, many things. But basically, it sits data, right? It is like a warehouse, all right? Power BI is not storing. It's coming here to get something to analyze. So all of this will be broken down. But you need to understand the concept. So maybe next class, we'll still do some basic, so that once the basics is clear. Now, reason why we also do this inside Obama is because some people really need to have not just select understanding. They want to be able to manipulate data even within this environment. I hope you understand. Not just saying to want to come and analyze. Because I have some people, part of the community members, 3 of them that reached out. Some of them are in the UK. In short, 2 people are in the UK that said that the role they want to employ me for, they asked me that, can I do this within the environment? So everyone, I just want to plead. The reason why we are doing this is for all of you. We don't want to carry some people along and not carry some people along, but it is better that some people are already on intermediate level in this class, but we have majority at the basic. So if you understand the basic, if the foundation is fine, by the time we now move to the next level, it will be clearer to you. So just know that everything we have still been doing today is to bring it home to you. As much as we can do, we will continue to simplify this. So let us take some reactions. What are the things you have learned today? From the first slide to my other colleague, what are the things you have? At least there should be one thing you can take away. So everyone kindly react. Tolu, please download it from your group. I don't have the studio to work with. Okay, so if Tolu is on the WhatsApp group, we can share the link with you, or you also drop a link. Mr. Oban, please help me go to the browser and help me. Okay, just join the group. Okay, the point is, okay, we would. How will I? Is Tolu on the group? If not, we can drop. You don't necessarily need to be on the group. We can drop the browser link to download all of that on this chat. Okay. So thank you. Any question? What are the things you have learned? Whatever it is that you can remember, what are the things you have learned? Okay, yes, or resend. Oh, thank you, John. So let us take that feedback so that we can stop recording. This video will be available. It will be uploaded on YouTube so that we can have access to it. Any clarification, question, answer, anything? Okay, that's one. Thank you, Amaka. I learned how to populate values on created tables. Okay, good. We're waiting for others. Mr. Obama, any comments, please?
So I'm just waiting for the feedbacks. Let me see.
Okay. So that they can react. Whatever doesn't make sense to you too, you can drop it so that we can now start from the next class. I learned how to create a schema. Good. Mr.
Okay, so
Obama,
Amaka,
react.
Let me react to Amaka's comment. So you didn't learn how to create a DBO schema. Rather, what you learned is how to create a user-defined schema. The DBO is the default schema. Nobody creates a DPO schema. It comes with a database when you create a database. But for the food schema, for purchasing, for sales, those are user-defined schemas that the user or the administrator has to create within the database. So what you learned is how to create a user-defined schema, which is food, and not the DBO schema. Just to take notes. Okay, so Miriam learned how to the SQL is to store and manage data. Good. Oh my bad. I'm so sorry, Adejumoke.
So, Adejumoke, what Mr. Obama came to show is to prepare for some people. But when he took the poll and he saw that majority are on that side of beginner, right? So he's really not, he was just trying to explain some things around the environment, all right? But don't worry, next class, we will still try to speak your dialects. You know what I mean? We will speak as you can understand, just like Amaka said, mixture of Igbo and French now. We will ensure we speak one language. Because what Mr. Obami was trying to say has also been simplified, that you can upload. Remember, of course, you learned how to upload now. It's one of the things you learned, because you're one of the people that say, instead of typing this, can't we upload? And it shows you. So that's one. Some people do not know that they can upload. So you have learned how to upload. Another thing, you talk about when somebody orders something on Jumia on the website, this table will be populated. That means that as they are interacting with your website or through the app, the information is storing here. So meaning that I said Power BI, sorry. Meaning that SQL, right, is storing that data. So he also shows that. So I learned how to create. So good. So Miriam is saying something. He said, also, I'm able to visualize and understand what happened with application and data storage in real life. Good, good. Thank you. That is very precise. Thank you for that. Because actually, that's what Mr. Obama is telling that. So the reality of all the activities on the web, on the stuff, is the one here. This is one storing it. So because that is very important. What Miriam just said now, that's the key thing here. I learned you can upload, of course, yes. Will Mr. Obama be taking more classes? Yes, of course.
Yes, I
So Mr.
will.
Obama, answer yourself. So
I will be taking more classes. I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, good. So expect some power people, not only him, but Mr. Obama this is his area. So it's going to help as many of us as possible. Don't worry, on the platform, we will now agree the next day. I had to hijack him to be here. So, but of course, he's always ready to support the family, the community. So everyone, I can assure you that it is for us to agree on the next class on WhatsApp, then he will be with us once we notify him ahead of time. So thank you everyone for enduring. We're supposed to have ended to 12:30, but don't worry, I just want us to learn as much as we can. So thank you so much. Mr. Obami, on behalf of the community, which you're also a member now, we are extending the hand of fellowship, saying thank you, and everyone is saying thank you. So I will
Yeah,
plead with
you're
everyone.
welcome.
I
Thank you
beg
so
you to
much.
take advantage of this. I beg you to take advantage of this. You would be fine. We will simplify. Take advantage. Mr. Obama does this for a living. They pay him bigly. This is what I do for a living. We know how much we make. So I beg you to take advantage. Okay. So thank you, everyone, once again. We will ensure we continue to support the community. So we will see in the chat. This video will be loaded once it's available and it will be shared. I will stop recording now. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Let's have a nice weekend.
Bye.